I didn't come to the allotment yesterday, so last night they were busy. We've got that, where they've been trying to get in the bin from the front. The improved bean protection didn't work. They've still got under the net, and they've basically pulled out the rest of the beans that were in there. The 5 mouse traps, rat traps, have just been untouched. They've completely ignored them. There's actually a bean on the top there. So yeah, they've been under the net and pulled all the rest of the beans out now. They've just started chewing my garlic plants down. Yeah, so there's one they've chewed through last night as well. It's just chewed the base of the plant away. Rat, mouse or vole, one of them. But today's video is about the tunnel. Clearing all the tomatoes and everything else and salvaging what I can before it's all gone, because yes, they've been in here as well. So right there on the edge of the tunnel, on the side of the tunnel, they've dug through the plastic, so they've chewed a hole through the plastic and they've got in there. And as you can see from these chilies and peppers on the ground, they've started stripping the plants of chilies, eating those. These are very mild chilies, but the chilies are littered all over the ground where they've been pulling them off. They've also been stripping these cayenne peppers, they're all over the floor today. You can see here where they just started chewing them on the ground. There's another big bunch of cayenne there, all chewed up. There's a hole there. There's a hole over there where they've either burying the cayennes, but you can see a big patch of cayennes there on the floor as well. Yeah, there's another hole there where there's cayennes on the ground that they've stripped off this plant. There's just generally cayenne peppers scattered all over the ground. They're over. There's a load in that corner as well, behind this tomatillo plant. Yeah, just a big bunch of them just been pulled off the plants and eaten through. But where else they've been is there was actually a bunch of grapes left on the vine. After I'd taken all the grapes off this year, the grapevine put out another little bunch, which was quite nice. I've come in this morning to find out that yes, the rats have been up into the roof, and they've managed to hack down or chew off the grapes, because the grapes are on the floor this morning. So there's the grapes along with the stem that they were attached to. They haven't eaten them, they've just literally chewed them off the vine and left them on the floor. But there's just generally big holes all over the tunnel. God, it's just so annoying. As you can see there, another hole where they've been digging. There's just holes basically like that all around the sides of the tunnel. You know, they come in and they're just looking to dig another hole to get out, so they've just got loads and loads of access and exit points into the tunnel in case they get disturbed. I think that's what it is. They don't just like having one exit or entrance, they like many. So, you know, if there's 3 or 4 of them in here, they can just all scatter into different directions. Thing is, these I wanted to leave these peppers on because they're not quite ready. You can see where they've been chewing them. But they've chewed them off the plant. They're all over the floor. So I'm just going to have to we're just going to have to take them all off, because they've all got holes in them now as well, where they've been up climbing on the plants and chewing the actual chilies. And kind of the same thing goes for all these chilies and cayennes. I mean, have you ever heard of mice or rats eating cayenne peppers? They're just chewed to pieces all down the side of the tunnel there. Loads and loads of them. Just gonna have to pick them today. The only ones they haven't touched are the Armageddon chilies, which are these here, these big orange beauties. They ain't touched them, that's for sure. Right guys, today I'm gonna have to get this tunnel cleared. I'll show you what's left anyway. Basically got these sort of Romas and San Mazzanos left. I don't think they're going to be any good now. My freezer is full of San Mazzano and Roma tomatoes, but they're kind of going soft now, and they're getting black spots on them where they're just starting to rot. All of them really, and it's just the weather's turned, hasn't it? So everything's starting to rot on the plants now. I'll take a few of these home, because even though they're not the best sort of Roma for sandwiches, at least there's some tomato, aren't they? The tomatoes actually are still flowering. So they've put out a mass of these big side shoots and they've all got flowers on again, but even though they've done that, they're not going to produce anything now. It's far too late. saying that, I've still got some tomatoes just ripening here from all these side shoots that came out off the plants, because you know I've just been leaving these tomatoes to do their own thing, and I've been saving the clearance for a rainy day, so I've just let them grow on really. And you can see some of these side shoots, they're getting on for 3 and 4 foot long, and they're in flower. Like I say, it's just too late for them to do anything. We ain't got no sun, and they might produce some fruit, but they're not going to be sweet. So job today, guys, is strip all these peppers off these plants, the ones that are ready, the ones that are ripe or almost ready. Take them home and then start pulling out these tomatoes. If there's any with a little bit of fruit on the top, I'll leave them. Just take the vast majority are coming out though. So clear all the dead basil stems off the base. There's a massive wire basket here full of mustard. So this is mustard seed that I've just been drying in the tunnel. I've decided I'm not going to grow mustard next year on the allotment. I'm going to use buckwheat as an alternative to the mustard. I'm not going to use this mustard seed, so I'll just end up giving this to someone else. All you do basically is get these heads and just tap them into a bucket, you know, just bash them about and all this mustard seed falls off. There's an awful lot of seed there actually, but they're dry now and they're ready to shed. The extra beans are sowed. What's happening in here? Let's have a look. No, they still haven't chitted in here, but guess what, the beans at home, they're about 2 inches tall. And just shows you the difference, you know, just a bit of heat makes. I need to up the ventilation in the tunnel. Look at this, some of these lettuce leaves here at the bases, they're starting to get a bit of mildew on them, and that's purely down to dampness. The compost is fairly damp. I'm probably watering them too much really in the trays, so you know, just watch out for that, because that stuff that will spread to the rest of the leaves and just kill the plants. So I need to get them in the ground. That's all it is. Just gonna have to get all these planted. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to be careful of that. Just stop watering these now. Once they get in this soil in here is really dry. Whilst on the subject of rodents, Martin and Kath, 1, 2, 3 plots down, Martin has a bird table, a little bird table at the back of his allotment, and he has a trail cam, just watching the bird table, just to watch the birds and the wildlife that come to the table. But he showed me a really cool clip last week where there was a rat on the bird table. All of a sudden the rat stops feeding pheasants. The rat stops feeding, sort of starts looking around, and then in the flash of an eye a tawny owl comes down. The rat actually jumps off the bird table. It must have seen the tawny or heard it, and just as it jumps, the tawny shoots down and grabs the rat. Now I can't tell on the footage if it actually catches the rat. I think it does, but I'm not 100% sure, because it's a 30 frames a second footage. So the moment the tawny grabs the rat in the vegetation and it flies back to its perch where it was sat, there's only 2 frames there. So I've sort of tried to capture the 2 frames. Because I've slowed it down, it's really blurred, but the last frame I'll put in and it does look like it's got hold of the rat in its feet. But you decide, you tell me if it's got the rat or it's not. I've managed to get something to harvest. There's some ripe and almost ripe tomatoes, and there's that bag of cayennes and the jazz chilies. So we've got some. Also got a bag of Armageddon chilies. It's probably enough chilies now because I don't actually eat them. I've done what I would call stage 1, and that is remove all the tomato plants. Left the roots in where I can, just cut around them. I've trimmed back all these peppers and chilies on this side, apart from the Armageddon in the corner. I've cut most of the foliage back on them chilies and the peppers, and I'm going to do the same on these Armageddon chilies. I've got 3 of these. Just try and overwinter them in pots, because they'll just be better plants next year and get more chilies off them. Probably only want 2, but I'll do the 3. The carnage sort of continues. So I was literally just going to pick these 2 peppers from outside that are growing at the back of the allotment. Yesterday these were fine, and I just kind of forgot to pick them, if you know what I mean. But I was also thinking, no, I'll leave them a few more days to try and get a bit redder, which is why I didn't pick them yesterday, and I should have done, because today, last night, once again, they've eaten through my 2 peppers. I hate rats! Okay, this is one of the cayenne peppers here. What I've done is I have cut it back to where the stem forks like that. Okay, you give them more of a chance if you cut them back to a fork stem, because it's this that will grow next year. It will probably also put more little side shoots out like that out the sides, but I've stripped all the bigger side shoots off. You can maybe see like these here, and I've just left that fork and those little tiny side shoots. Anyway, let's dig it out. It's actually a pointel pepper. That it's meant to be. It's not a chili, but that's what I had it listed down as, and it turned out it was a cayenne, so bit of mislabeling went on there. There's most of its root system. There's a little bit of mint, which, as I said, I'm going to have to be a bit diligent and get this mint out, but I just need a pot for that. It'll probably be fine in that small pot there. I've got here some of my homemade potting mix. This is the leaf mould and wood chip mixture. So I'll put a good handful in the bottom of there. I say I'm not growing these on, I just want them to survive over winter. So it just means the roots having enough moisture but not too much. Because there's not many nutrients in this stuff, because it's literally just wood chip and leaf mould. And there's not tons and tons of food in there, but there's enough moisture to keep the roots alive. That's what I'm hoping anyway, that they just don't go crazy and start growing. That stuff is moist. It's damp. It's really damp, look, because it's just been outside in the bag. So it's wet enough that I'm not going to water them, so I'm just going to pot them all up and just do that with them. This one here is another cayenne. You say most of the root out with that one as well. Again, I've just left that to where it branched off there, and get some more compost in a tub. I'm just going to show you what I do to this Armageddon chili. Right, it's a big plant, and that is clearly not going to survive in a pot, so I have to reduce it down in size. Let me get round here so I'm not in the way. Right, all these side shoots here that are coming off, I will take them back to the stem, and that bottom side shoot there, and then I'm down here to the break, to the V, and what I'm going to do is just where it breaks again, I'm just going to take it off there. Like so. I mean, that just means I can leave a few leaves on top. These little bottom side shoots as well, I'm going to take them off, some of them anyway. So that's it. I'll take that off as well there, and that growing tip. Right, to me that is the best chance that plant's got now. Armageddon chili. And there it is, guys. I'm going to try with that and see if it makes it. I don't think it will. I don't think there's enough root under there. The ubiquitous mint. Right, as I say, I'm not too bothered if that doesn't make it next year, because I'll be sowing chilies again a couple of months, January, putting some more seed in. I'm going to try the save seed on this, and although this is an F1 and it won't necessarily run through, I will still get some chilies off it, and I don't need the heat. It's irrelevant to me, that. So we'll see what next year's seed, well, what this year's seed has produced for next year. And if that makes it, even better. That is a cayenne, which I think will survive, that cayenne. So that's most of its root. I've just been stripping a few dead leaves off the sprouts. So I thought I'd give you a little look at them. You know, as they start to go yellow, you may as well take them off. But they're really nice looking sprouts. Look at those beauties. Look at them, aren't they beauties? Yeah. So nice sprouts, aren't they? I love them. But even here towards the back, there's something been chewing on that, either a rat or a mouse. So nothing, absolutely nothing is sacred. Some of these lower ones, which you can't quite see here, they've been chewed along the bottom, and they start to rot once the rats and mice start chewing them. But overall I'm quite pleased with the sprouts, really. They're not all big by any means. There are a couple of smaller sort of stems there. They're not too bad, but these plants were, these two on this side were the most shaded from these plants. Just not quite as strong as those for growth, and as a result, you know, it's always darker on this side here because you've got the blackcurrant bushes, the blackberry bushes, which cast a lot of shade on this side. Then you've got the plants at the front casting shade, so they didn't quite do as well. But all the ones surrounding, you know, they're not a bad size. You can see the tops are absolutely peppered in holes. Looks like they've been shot. And these were some kind of moth, so there was these yellow caterpillars just constantly laying eggs on these moths, whatever they are. Just sort of your little yellow caterpillar. It was every few days I was having to come on and pick them off. It's not killed them, but it's not done them any favours, that's for sure. I didn't do them any favours by taking the net off last week and forgetting to put it back on. I just left the net off so that they could get a bit of sunlight, and I forgot to put it on the next morning when I come. The pigeons had been on these and sort of pecked all the tops off them. Well, in that barrow was all of the tomato stems, broken down to that lovely mulch just run through the chipper. They were in this barrow. They were piled about as high as this was, all the stems. And then this stuff here is the remnants from out the tunnel. Basically the leaves and all the other green manure that was growing around the ground. So it's got to go in the bin. So there we are. That's what's going on in the bin. Sunk maybe 12 inches this week, and I have been putting bits and pieces in it. Some apples that went in. Yeah, still some good heat in there. Got some of our friends, the soldiers, in the middle. And that's the tomato stems. God, there's not much there, is there? And it's gone through the chipper, not much left. Now in the bottom of this barrow is some raspberry stems that I chipped up the other day. That essentially there was a barrow full of raspberry stems, just reduced to that. Again, just incredible. There's my rat tube peppers, the last two peppers on the site, the last two. That's really annoyed me, that, more than anything really. Come on guys, you've all got to go in. You do notice this time of year that even when you're putting greens in like this, the heat really slows down. It's decomposition. So, you know, it's not as active as it is in summer, or when the weather's a lot warmer. maybe, I don't know what the reason. Well on our way to getting our 2 cubic meters of compost for the year. There's nothing much else on the allotment to cut back now. The tunnel was the last of it, the last of the green material. Obviously I've still got green manure in the beds, but that's staying on ground to decompose and protect the surface over winter. So I don't really want to pile any more apples in these bins, because it's not as actively breaking down. Then the apples are just going to sit and go smelly and rancid. So I mean, that normally in summer, that, you know, that would lose 10 inches overnight. I doubt it gets much below this level by morning. Anyway, we shall see. I'll update you in another video, but the rats still ain't got in there. I've just realised I haven't put my nets back on my sprouts. I'd left the nets off really just to give them a bit of sunlight, but you know, the grey arrows have seen to the end of the sunlight for today now. We've just got this haze in the sky, this whitey grey haze, so I've got to put it back on, or you know what the pigeons will do tonight or tomorrow. I could have run all that through the chipper. Oh my god. Anyway, I'll take it all up there now and it'll go through the next chipping I do. That'll be some of the plants around the sides of the allotment. Prune the rose bushes back, run all them through the chipper. I'm gonna leave the tunnel for today because it's still dry, and maybe I'll be in there tomorrow, finish off what I'm doing. I'll bring you back for that, guys. But for now, I'm gonna cart all this stuff over to Compost Corner, and I will see you in the next one. Alright guys, bye from Rat Destruction Corner. It's bye for now.